8:30.
Yeah, for the time.
We're gonna start at 5 even if that's not going.
Hey, I can relate to art test. Never
Yes.
had one.
Even if they're not ready, we're going.
Yep.
Alright.
I was on the verge of having one.
What was that? That's
Oh, if I had one,
what did we do for the United States haircut?
no, I got my apple trees sprayed.
10 seconds of space. Alright, we're live.
Alright, we are gonna call the June 2nd, 2026 City Council meeting to order. Having some technical things going on, so we'll do the best we can. Please join me if you're able in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alright, just so people are aware, tonight we did cancel the executive session. That was postponed till June 16th. And for council's awareness, we do have a playoff baseball game tonight that I'm coaching in, so I'm leaving at 5:45. So, see where we're at in the agenda. Let's get to it, Mike said. Alright, do we have any changes to the agenda? We already have a revised agenda in front of us. If not, I would hear a motion to approve the agenda as revised.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mike, second by Becky. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Agenda is approved. Guests in open forum. Christine, are you here?
Yes, I'm right here.
Oh, there you are. Snuck in on me. So come on up here. If you could just state your name and address for us, and then the floor will be yours.
Okay, good evening, I'm Christine Jacobson. I reside at 12577 Rolling Ridge Road. I have lived there for 30 years. My concern is the crosswalk that I feel is needed on River Street and Main Street where Drilling Brews and Dairy Queen is. It's a location that no matter what time you go, morning, lunchtime, or coming home time, it is chaos. There are no crosswalks going east or west. Yes, there are some that are going north and south, but there are none east and west. I have pictures on my phone that I took today to prove to you what I'm talking about. There is one crosswalk at Rolling Ridge Road and Bank Street by McDonald's, Quick Trip, Central Care, and Speedway. It's a 4-block, that's the only one. And then you go all the way down Bank Street where the bank is and where the new Bill Superette is, and there's not a single crosswalk going north or south or east or west. I take my grandkids there, they want to ride their bikes, there's no way. We walk and we hold hands, it's chaos. I am willing to walk around my neighborhood and introduce myself, and I will get a petition to get going so that we have safety in our neighborhood. I will also approach the businesses on Main Street too for their input also. Country Lumber property looks like it is being cleaned up. That is prime real estate. We will only get more conveniences for our city of Becker, which is awesome. It's right off Highway 10. It's prime real estate. So again, if we could create a flashing light that is solar powered, a crosswalk would be much needed in that area. I am trying to be proactive. I did go to the meeting, for Edgewood improvements. Thank you very much. I came up on that, that's my bike route. Again, Edgewood, no matter what time you ride your bike or walk, it's a straight shot. People are coming up Highway 10 at 65 miles an hour, and the majority of them go that fast. I'm an adult on my bike. I have a flashing light on my bike. I wear a helmet, and I wear bright clothing. When there's a crosswalk, I wait for that car to stop for me, and then I walk my bike across Edgewood. I am looking forward to the improvements. I would also like them on Bank Street and River Street. I have been in contact with Phil, as we went to the meeting on March 23rd. He did email me on March 25th. I haven't heard anything else. That's why I'm here today, to get the word out. I am not on social media, but I know that everything is recorded, and so that the word will get out. One of my concerns is I find it hard the older I get, why is safety always on the back burner? It's very irritating. I used to direct traffic at the primary. I did that in the winter. I was a volunteer. They did change it, not to my level, but they did change the primary, and now the bus garages have been moved out of the congestion where all the schools sit also. So, thank you for your time, and just to kind of get the feed out, I will not let this go. It's just a matter of time before someone else gets hurt, and I don't want that. I don't. Because it's an easy fix to me. If you could just paint them, there's not even crosswalk painting. I have pictures to show that too. So, thank you so much, and spread the word. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Is there anybody else here for open forum tonight? All right, we'll move on to committee reports, presentations, and awards. We do have the Freedom Days proclamation. It is right here if anybody needs a copy. I'm not gonna read it to you. But hopefully everybody's prepared, ready to come out. It actually kicks off on the 13th. We have the barbecue bash and some things going on, and then lots of activities throughout that week. The food shelf fundraiser on Friday night the 19th, and then the grand day activities and the parade on the 20th. So we hope everybody can take a chance to come out and enjoy Freedom Days. All right, we'll move on to the committee reports, budget and finance.
Budget and finance met May 21st. We met remotely because the internet was down here. We talked quite a bit about the 2027 budget assumptions and just got some ideas put together. We reviewed the standard financials and the golf forecast. We talked about past due utilities, 60 days plus at $28,900 as of April 30th. 2026 water shutoff update, 89 properties. Notice were sent on May 12th. And that's all I have.
All right, any questions for Robin? How about golf committee?
Golf committee met May 26th. We reviewed the financials, which look pretty good considering what a rough start to the season we've had weather-wise. We talked about a fence update that is probably getting started as of yesterday. We talked about the whole 10 pond update, and that work is in progress and probably close to completion.
All right, questions for Robin on golf? Joint planning, we met on May 26th, and we had several simple parcel splits. We're splitting up some 40s into like 2 10s and a 20, and I think we split a 20 into a 10 and 2 5s. So just some smaller housing things going on in the township. And that was about it. Questions on joint planning? All right, we'll move on to board committee and consultant reports. We have the Edgewood Trail Improvement Bid Award. Mr. Knutson is up with resolution 2653.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Apologize for the short notice. I did send an email out. I think you've got some copies there. We did have bid awards, or bid opening this afternoon. We did have 5 contractors bid on the project. And good news is the award, the bids came back in very favorable for the city. So we anticipated they would. We have 2 contractors. Capital Paving's already won 1 contract for the city this year, and Knife River won the CASA 23 project for the county. So as expected, they were the 2 low bids, with Capital Paving being the lowest bid on this project. Engineer's estimate on the project was about $2,700,000, and they came in at $2,086,467. SCH did a really good job putting bid tabulation together and the recommendation for the award tonight with that. As noted in the revised resolution, there's also, because it's a state aid project, there is independent material testing that's needed and reporting to be submitted to the state. Not really having a hard number on what that is. We're asking for an allowance of a number not to exceed $50,000, so we can check that box for the state to make sure testing is done. Typically, we include that in our contracts for the contractor to take place, but again, the state requirement wants that third party just to keep that separation. So with that tonight, we're confident in capital paving. We've had a pre-con on the 2026 street improvement project already, and anticipate that this crew will be able to do this work and get this project started. We don't have a timeline should we approve tonight, but the nice thing with the bids coming where they're at, we had a quick impromptu discussion with finance, and there are sufficient funds. If you recall, we did advance funding from MSAS, so with the allocations they've already given to us or held for us, along with the advance that they've approved already, we have sufficient funds to cover the entirety of the project. We weren't sure that we would, so the bids came back about $500,000 less than we originally anticipated, so we're feeling good about that. So with that, I can stand for other questions, otherwise looking for movement on the resolution so we can get the project rolling.
Any questions for Phil? Good when they come in lower than we were thinking.
We were told, because they're already in town, that we would see some good pricing, and they held true to that, and we did. So we're really excited about it, and they're quality contractors. So I mean, the nice thing is when those bids come back, we've got 2 that are within like $85,000 of each other. Otherwise, you think, who missed what? You know. So like I said, SCH has had a first go around on them. Feels confident in Capital's numbers. So yeah, we're excited.
Great. Any other questions for Phil? If not, I'll look for a motion on resolution 2653, awarding the contract for Edgewood Street to Capital Paving plus the $50,000 allowance for the materials testing.
I'll make a motion we approve resolution 2653 revised.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mike, second by Robin. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you're up here with the Edgewood easement now.
Yes, I am. Along with this project and in conjunction with the Luann Drive proposed improvements, we've worked with the current property owner, Marty Marstead, as well as reached out to the developers that are interested in that property, looking to realign, again, trying to get the trail and eliminate some of the crosswalks. So I think we're taking 3 out and keeping 4 in place, but trying to make them more visible and more purposed. We're trying to keep the trail on the south side of our property longer. So basically from First Street to 27th Avenue, I believe it is, by Grace Lutheran. The trail would stay on the south side, and we'd cross there and would move to the north side through CASA 23. But in order to do that and incorporate a right turn lane for Luann, we needed additional easement for that. Reached out to Mr. Harstead. He was favorable to honor that request as long as it didn't impede what the proposed developers were doing. They've signed off on it as well. We've not looked to assess any of the properties or require payment for that, but kind of an in-kind for the improvements that we're making to Luann Drive or proposed. They would give us this in exchange for no assessments on that. So win-win for everybody, improves corridor traffic, pedestrian and bicycle safety along that corridor as well. So with that, again, like I said, Mr. Harstead has already, signed off on these, pending, council approval tonight, then we will get it recorded, and it'll, take hold, and it's already incorporated into the, plan designs for Edgewood, and it will be, the work they're doing on the land as well.
Great.
And with that, I can stand for any questions you have.
Any questions for Phil on the easement agreement? Anybody like to make a motion on resolution 2652 to approve that easement agreement?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Becky, a second by Mike. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. Motion is carried. Thank you to staff. I know we've put a lot of time into Edgewood, and I think when it's done, people are gonna be really impressed with the safety improvements and the trail upgrades.
The drainage is gonna be a huge benefit, so.
Yes.
A year-round trail, so.
Awesome. Thank you so
Mr.
much.
Brown.
Have we started clearing that corner on Edgewood yet?
We just discussed that today, we have the fence on order for that property owner, and until we have that, I won't let the guys get after it until we have it on
Yeah.
site.
No, cause he wants,
Yeah.
yeah.
We wanna try and keep their privacy as best we can, so we anticipate it's supposed to be here next week, so I anticipate in probably 2 weeks, we'll get started. We're going to do the parallel, portion on Edgewood and the angle portion, and then we'll wait till the, county improves the trail, and then we'll place it. I wanna make sure we're not screwing up with the drainage portion of that. So I would say in about 2 weeks, we've been current with, Mr. Williams is up north at his resort, and Mrs. Williams is here, so we've been trying to communicate with both of them, so they're understanding, what the heck that project is.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Alright, next up, the PLC replacements, Mr. Lisson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I have for RCA and resolution 2649 for PLC replacements in 3 MCC centers at the wastewater facility. Included in your packet is the quote from Total Control. I included an email from Al, the owner of Total, confirming that his quote is still good. Overall, we have 23 PLCs in our water wastewater system for the city. PLC is a programmable logic controller. Essentially, it's the brains of a motor control center. It's what basically allows our processes and our machinery to be ran by our computers instead of us having to physically do everything. Some background, expected life for a PLC is 10 to 20 years. Oftentimes the physical hardware itself will last longer, but the support for that hardware and or parts and availability is gone in a shorter amount of time. The ones we're asking to replace tonight are from 2005, so they are 21 years old, and they are obsolete, so if something goes wrong, we would have to replace them with an upgraded version. And so instead of doing that when they fail and being kind of behind the 8 ball and potentially having interruption in our treatment process, we're trying to do that proactively. So these are the 3 oldest ones we have, so we're looking to replace those tonight. We did discuss this with our Public Works Committee. The committee did recommend it coming to council for consideration. We do budget in all 3 of our enterprise CIPs for PLC replacement. So we took a total roughly of what the value of all our PLCs are, divided it by their lifespan, and we just plan for that amount each year, and then we'll replace them as they age out. With that, tonight I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve resolution 2649, approving the wastewater treatment facility PLC replacement project for the quoted price of $81,618 and a price not to exceed $89,800, which is a 10% contingency. Every once in a while we do things like this where we're taking old equipment out of the panel and putting new in. There might be a need for an electrician to do things beyond what Total can do. So planning in case that would come up. Hopefully we won't have to, but then we have it if we need it. And with that, I can stay for any questions.
Alright, any questions for Chris on the PLCs? Looks like they've outlived their useful life, so. Anybody care to make a motion on resolution 2649 to replace the wastewater treatment facility PLC?
I'll make that motion. 2649.
No second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mike, second by Robin. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed state no. Motion's carried. Thank you, Chris. Chief is up with the police sergeant position, resolution 2646.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you tonight about our police sergeant position. This has been a work in progress, as many of you probably know, since I became the chief of police back in June of last year, in identifying the supervision needs of the Becker Police Department. We identified that a sergeant role would make more sense than the lieutenant role, and for a couple reasons, which I'll highlight in a moment. But part of that process was establishing the sergeant job description first and foremost, so that was reviewed by staff. It was adjusted slightly. We had a previously identified sergeant position that was in our city descriptions, and we took a look at that, made sure that was up to date. There were some minor adjustments to some things like some scheduling, some job duties, and the rank and where that falls in our command structure, but relatively minor. That job description was reviewed by personnel and police committees, and the staff's recommended approval of that job description moving forward, and that was included in your RCA. We then took a look at the sergeant wage scale. The sergeant description was redone, and then therefore we review it internally with our decision band method, which is a way that we can take a look at that job description and see where that falls into our pay structure. We did do a review of that internally, which identified it as a C51 DBM rating. And then in addition, as you're aware as council, we reached a contract with Flaherty and Hood recently to do this kind of citywide too. So we reached out to them to say, can we have you take a look at this now? And they did that and came back with the same C51 DBM rating for that position, which is good because it tells us that our internal methods that we've established are working. That being said, the wage scale for that band is 4237 to 5509 with 9 steps. In order to have the sergeant starting wage above top patrol wage, the actual hiring wage for this position will be anticipated to start around that $46.20 mark with 6 steps to top pay. Staff recommended approval of the sergeant wage scale identified, and then that was attached to the RCA as well. A little bit about the history of the sergeant role. We didn't operate with any type of supervision before 2013 other than the chief of police. So 2013 council identified the need for a night shift supervisor. We hired a sergeant at that time, and he was in place for about 2 years prior to leaving for another job opportunity. And at that time, that role was left vacant. Essentially until 2022, when I was promoted to the lieutenant. However, due to changes in the department structure and needing to maintain investigative work, I conducted both the lieutenant role and the investigator role for the department. The lieutenant role has more administrative duties, but because it was combined with investigations, that role did not allow for much supervision of our night shift patrols. And the lieutenant role has since remained vacant since I was promoted to chief. Officer Henkels was hired in 2025. The department has the same staffing number now as we sit here tonight prior to my promotion, which is 8 full-time officers, including the chief. Patrol officer will be assigned as that patrol investigator to perform the investigations portion, but they remain in our rotation. The department operates with alternating power shifts and evening shifts, and the chief, or me, is identified as their primary supervisor. I do take a considerable amount of calls after hours. I'm always able to answer my phone and wake up in the night to answer questions. But I don't have the opportunity to be on calls with them, which allows the supervisor to gain the knowledge of their job performance, how things are going, answer immediate questions, or sometimes just have an idea of what's actually going on. As you can imagine, getting woken up at 2 a.m. and have somebody explaining a situation going on in another part of town takes a little bit to kind of wrap your head around. So having that in-person knowledge is vital as well. As our department grows, we'll have a need to fill vacancies, and those officers with the least amount of experience typically work the night shift, and therefore should have the most supervision. Based on my previous experience, I recognize that the supervisor can't do both jobs of supervising and investigations while working evening shifts, nor is it effective to have both department supervisors working the day shift. Based on those needs, I had recommended the addition of a sergeant position be added in 2026 beginning mid-year. Our sergeant will be our first line supervisor for the department. covering our evening and night shifts. It would be second command of the Becker Police Department in the event that I was unavailable. They'd be responsible for assisting patrol officers on calls for service, ensuring compliance with policy and procedures, scheduling for evening and night shift, providing input for performance evaluations, and managing training for the officers that report to them. The sergeant's schedule might change, but in general, it would be that mid-shift coverage, so kind of a power type shift. And they would work 8 10-hour shifts per pay period and rotate weekends as well. I wanted to make sure that supervisor got to work weekends with both sides of the schedule as well. And that way they have in-person contact with both sides that they supervise. We established a hiring process which would include several steps, including the initial application, a review of that, some oral interview boards, a chief's interview, and then your pretty standard background investigation, medical, and things like that. And we did elect to have them participate in a leadership assessment similar to what I went through during my chief candidacy. So, that being said, I presented the sergeant discussion several times at both police committee and at planning, or at personnel committee. I've been working with the job description, the hiring process, and the wage review, as well as how that schedule would work. We discussed all of those positions, the wage schedule and the job posting. Both committees supported bringing it to full council tonight. During the last budget process, the council approved funding for the sergeant position with a start date of late June. The total for wages and benefits was identified at that time at $69,136. With the regrading of the position and pushing back to a likely probably August start date at this point in time, the revised budget impact is around $52,000. That being said, I'm open to any questions you have about this position. Otherwise, I am looking for a motion a second to adopt my resolution 2646, which would approve that job description, the wage scale, and posting for that position.
Alright, any questions for Chief?
Did we say for sure, I know it was the 8 10-hour shifts per pay period. And I did ask you on email, but I wasn't quite understanding, is it going to be a 2 to 2, I mean not a 2 to 2, a 4 to 2?
Yeah,
Or are you thinking 6 to 4?
I think we have to kind of see what the needs are and where they fit in best. Like I discussed, it'd be that mid, so 4 to 2, 6 to 4. Initially, early on when we had the discussions, I think we wanted to extend out till that 4 a.m. so we have a little more coverage. With some of the night shift movement, some of our part-time stuff we've discussed recently, there may be a change where we actually would switch to having those night shift officers work double at night. And then that way we'd probably slide that sergeant up to the 4 to 2 instead, if that makes sense. So right now, in the posting, it's identified as an evening and night shift sergeant,
Right.
just so that anybody that would, have an interest in that position knows it's gonna fall into that category, but, the sergeant position won't change from those.
Your description isn't putting a specific time in that.
Yeah, it's a night evening sergeant is how I described it, just to keep that a little bit open while we kind of figure out where that best fit will be, but it'd be one of the two.
Okay.
Personally, I would really like to see us have coverage till 4, just because person's off at 2, we're right back to you answering the phone for those 4 hours and only having one coverage. And I know that we've looked at the call load and it really drops off at 4, so that's definitely would be in line with, I think, what we discussed originally, so I would need to figure that.
And we did have some internal discussions, just as you're aware too, for those times when no supervisor is working, is to maybe establish a, on-call, who's your supervisor. That way, it's not, always call the sergeant when they're gone. I'll take call for a week, sergeant can take full call for a week, and then that way, not one or the other is getting those late night calls more often than the other two.
Sure. Other questions? Alright, then we're looking for a motion on resolution 2646, approving the job description, the wage scale, and posting of the sergeant position.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Robin, second by Becky. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed state no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Mr. Peterson has the Land unit development and preliminary plat for Edgewood Village, resolutions 2650 and 51.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Sure, correct. So tonight we have a PUD conditional use permit and preliminary plat for Edgewood Village. Some background on this one is the applicant is Todd Ullman of Land and Resource Consulting. It's on behalf of Keepers Land Development, owned by State Keepers, and True Blue Construction, or Scott Thompson. The applications were received April 24th and deemed complete April 27th, 2026. Property is approximately 19.23 acres south of Edgewood Boulevard along the Luann Drive corridor, east of First Street. The owners of the land currently are Aichi Inc., or Marty Harstead, who owns 7 parcels, and John McChesney, who owns the other parcel, both of which have signed the applications as well. And so the project is going to be called Edgewood Village. It would be a mixed-use residential plat for 215 total dwelling units at 11.18 units per acre. It would be 4 3-story apartment buildings for 152 units between those 4 buildings. 3 8-unit townhomes with tuck-in garages. Those would be 24 units. 5 5-unit townhome or row home buildings for 25 units, and then 7 twin home lots or 14 units. A PUD was requested to establish some dimensional standards, specifically to reduce the lot width, lot depths, and a 20-foot front yard setback for some of the certain twin home lots around the cul-de-sac. Maximum height for all the building types will be 45 feet, and some actions kind of already taken by the city. May 5th, 2026, council approved density amendments to the comprehensive plan and UDO via resolution 2641. That same day, May 5th, council approved a supplemental agreement with SEH for the Luann Drive road and utility design. And then the Luann Drive extension is a city-led, grant-funded infrastructure project. And this development will kind of benefit and work with that alongside it. Some key issues to note is the city engineer's civil plan review is ongoing. There are a couple conditions in the resolution that address some required amendments. Recommended education. Staff felt given the proximity of Pleasant Valley Park, which is roughly a third of a mile away, with recently outdated equipment and on-site amenities on this proposed development, including a play area and a dog park, staff recommends a fee in lieu of $200,000 or $930 a unit, which would be addressed in the required developers agreement. For stormwater, we showed 3 infiltration basins that are proposed, outlots A, B, and C for drainage, and then some open space, as well as it did account for the Great River energy transmission line easement. They did submit a TIF application. Approval of the PUD and plat becomes null and void if TIF is not approved or if either developer decides to withdraw or not to proceed. An environmental assessment worksheet or EAW is required for construction on this project. Some committee action or planning commission. On May 18th, planning commission did hold a public hearing. There was one resident in attendance who discussed the southern landscape buffer with the developer, and they were satisfied with what the developer had to say. And planning commission unanimously recommended approval of both of those resolutions, PC 2607 and PC 2608. So with that, I'll be looking for a motion in a second adopting resolution 2650, PUD conditional use permit for Edgewood Village, as well as a motion in a second adopting resolution 2651, preliminary plat for Edgewood Village. I can see any questions.
Alright, any questions for us?
Spent quite a bit of time on this at our meeting.
Yeah, it's been pretty thoroughly reviewed. Great, then would anybody like to make a motion on resolution 2650 to approve the PUD CUP for?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
And a motion by Mike, second by Becky, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. That motion carries. Then we need a motion on resolution 2651, which approves the preliminary plat.
I'll make that motion also.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mike, second by Becky, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Next up, Chief is back up for suspension of the rules for Freedom Days.
Suspension of the rules.
Suspension of the rules.
Thank you again.
There's no rules.
No rules. Just getting on with that.
School's out.
Yeah, we don't want to publicize that one, but, yes, as Mayor Colbert referenced, Freedom Days month, which is always a fun week for us here in Becker. We do have a lot of rules and regulations that pertain to things, like signage and alcohol consumption on the streets, and riding golf carts down the road, and driving on the right side of the road. And as part of that process each year, we do a suspension of the rules for those Freedom Days activities. So this is nothing different than anything in the past. We've discussed this with Freedom Days committee. They're aware they're gonna be asking for the suspension of the rules. All of the specific rules were identified in your RCA, so I won't bore you with those. But that being said, we're looking for a motion and a second adopting resolution 2647, providing for that suspension of the rules that were identified in the RCA.
Guess the alternative is we ticket everyone to the parade.
Let's do it.
Revenue generation.
Revenue generation. Alright. We have resolution 2647 for the suspension of certain rules during Freedom Days. Anybody care to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Becky, a second by Mike. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Liston's back up, looking for some MRX meter reading unit replacements. Sounds exciting.
Very exciting. Can't videos. So yes, the NRX unit that we use to read water meters was having some issues. We worked with our IT manager to see if he could troubleshoot it. He could not make any progress. We then sent it into the Ferguson for them to look at it. They gave us a response, which is included in your RCA tonight as one of the attachments. That stated basically due to its age and unavailability of parts, it could not be repaired. So we currently have a loaner from Ferguson that we used last month and we'll use this month. And tonight we're asking for a replacement, approval to buy a replacement unit, so we can continue to read meters and collect the revenue from the water and sewer usage from the residents. In doing this process, as we wanna plan for the future, we'll add this to our CIP. In that we were kind of reaching out to Ferguson, asking them what they would say an expected life for this unit is. We got a pretty broad answer, anywhere from 4 to 20 years. And that was based on his experience, because he has cities that have machines that are over 20 years old and still working, and some that are 4 years old and already failed, so.
Operator error.
Maybe, yeah, but if you throw it out of the truck, it's not gonna last very long. So going forward, what's that?
Good luck budgeting that one.
Yeah, right. So we would look to put it into our CIP with an 8-year lifespan. Seemed like that was kind of a settling spot, and we can kind of assess as we go. We did get a quote from Ferguson that was included in the packet. We did bring this up to the Public Works Committee. They did recommend to go forward to council for consideration. We did confirm with finance that we do have sufficient reserves in our water CIP to cover the cost of this replacement unit. And so tonight I am looking for a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2648, approving the purchase of the replacement MRX with a quoted price of $15,000 and a price not to exceed $16,500. I don't think there's gonna be anything beyond that, but in case they come back and say, oh yeah, you gotta update your software and that's $500 or something. So we'll plan for that, so. And with that, I can stand for any questions.
Alright, any questions for Chris on that MRX meter reader? Anyone care to make a motion on resolution 2648 at a price not to exceed $16,500?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Robin, second by Mike. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed state no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Peterson is back up with the development agreement with Fossum Fields.
That's correct, thank you, good mayor and council. This is a development agreement for Fossum Fields 3rd edition. Council previously approved the final plat for Fossum Fields 3rd via resolution 2640. Per condition number 13 of that resolution, The developer, Sherwin Lang Company LLC, wants to execute a development agreement before construction begins and before the final plat is recorded. So some key kind of requirements of this agreement is the developer must submit a letter of credit or cash escrow before any work begins. The exact amount will be set once the city engineer reviews the developer's engineer's opinion of cost, which they're currently obtaining bids on that, so that'll be coming at a later time. Park dedication, due to a new 6.41 acre park being located roughly a fifth of a mile away northwest of the site, staff recommends a reduced fee to $980 a unit or $30,392.09 for phase 1's 31 lots. They are required to have an escrow, and $8,000 in escrow fees was actually already submitted to the city with the prior land use applications to cover engineering, legal, and city administration costs. The developer will need to replenish that if those costs run low. For stormwater, there are kind of an ongoing review with that. It's continuing to be reviewed by the city engineer and staff. We're having discussions with the developer on that. One thing to note is that if any additional language is needed as a result, in the development agreement, we do have provisions that allow the city engineer or attorney to add some additional language if required. Also, it is a two-phase project, and so phase 1 would be 31 lots, phase 2 would be an additional 21 lots, and with that, I guess I'd be looking for a motion and a second, adopting resolution 2654, approving the development agreement for Fossil Fields 3rd edition. One thing I probably actually should have mentioned is this agreement does authorize the mayor and city administrator to sign the finalized agreement. I can stand for any questions.
Great, any questions on Fossil Fields 3rd edition? It'd be nice to have that going.
Right?
Alright, would anybody like to move approval of resolution 2654?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
A motion by Becky, a second by Robin, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed state no. Motion carried. Thank you for all your work on that. Mr. LaRue is up with the consent agenda.
Mayor, Cook, City Council members, items for review, approval, or adoption on tonight's consent agenda include the revised hiring and termination report, authorize the Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026 payment of claims is presented. The claims listing has been provided to the City Council as a separate document and is available on request for public view at City Hall. The total claims are $369,413.96. Approve the minutes of the May 19th City Council meeting. Approve the minutes of the May 19th executive session. Review the minutes of the following committee meetings: the April 20th Fire Board meeting, the April 23rd Budget and Finance Committee meeting, and May 15th Police Committee meeting. Adopt resolution 26-45 approving the Greater Minnesota Housing Infrastructure Grant Signers and Representatives. Adopt resolution 26-55 approving election judge appointments. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Greg? Not, anyone like to move approval of the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion by Robin, second by Mike. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed state no. Consent agenda is approved. Have some June anniversaries. Full time, 5 years at the golf course, Natalie Chafin. 4 years at police, Tristan Melo. 4 years at Public Works, Kyle Winkleman. 1 year at Community Center, Brandy Thomas. 7 years, Becky Homeshide of the City Council.
What? Where's the
What?
balloons?
Sorry, you're in Princeton, you can drive there and get them. 5 years at the Community Center, Kaylee Sint. 3 years at golf for Taya Borkowski. 3 years at Community Center, Jordan Mateka. 3 years at the Community Center, Merritt Rogers. 2 years at golf, Lila Vetters. 1 year at the Community Center, Sophia Helverson. 1 year at golf for Alicia King. 1 year at the Community Center, Taylor Lisson. 4 years at golf, Emma Matthews. 3 years 2 seasons at golf for Alden Johnson, 2 seasons at golf for Lisa Knudsen, 1 season at golf for Louis Heinrichs, and 1 season at golf for Carson Schuster. Thank you to all those people for your continued service to the city.
Those are easy last names.
Those weren't too bad. If I butchered them, I apologize. I would just like consensus from council to have the crosswalk referred to Public Works like we do with all traffic.
We actually
reports.
already discussed some of the public works,
Okay,
and we were gonna do a study on it,
Okay.
like we did with Third Street.
yeah, so we just follow that same
Yeah,
process.
so we'll come back with something on that.
Okay,
Excuse me, what do I need to do as a citizen to help you and to educate me and to educate other people that would like to be part of the team to create the crosswalk and safety on Bank Street and River?
okay,
That's
well,
why I'm here this evening, because my answers are not being,
well, I think you will get your answers. We follow the same exact process with every crosswalk, and with all due respect to citizens, we have traffic engineers that study it and make sure that we're following best practices in the engineering world. And I know it takes some time, but we wanna do it correctly, and so every traffic or crosswalk request we get follows the same process.
no matter what.
No matter what.
Cause we're gonna do it right, and everybody deserves the same attention, and we're not gonna take any shortcuts on those.
Okay, well, I have a big mouth, and I'm gonna walk around my neighborhood. I am. And I.
Feel free to do that.
Okay.
We're not gonna change how we do things, cause what we do works, and it works really well.
Well, school is out tomorrow. Yeah, and the kids are out. And that's the issue.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Phil's got something to add.
Just to echo what council's talking about, referring back to Bank Street and Sherburne Avenue, north, or Casal 23. Going through that study, as we worked with Grant and extended that sidewalk before they used to come into a parking lot, partnering with Grant, improving that sidewalk. It's not just the sidewalk, it's the ped ramps, it's the crosswalk markings. So we've got that in place right now. We're working, is this year's street improvements, to add on the corner of Bank Street and Casal 23, a new truncated dome that is ADA compliant, that will get us the crosswalk on Sherburne Avenue. So we're making that improvements. Now we'll get folks that can cross 2nd Street on the sidewalk, cross 23 onto Bank Street. There'll be a new crosswalk that'll get them, they can stay on the north side of Bank or move to the south side through a crosswalk as well. So as part of that process, as it unfolds, that's where we're at there. So that corridor, you can walk the full north side, you can walk the full south side, and you have crosswalks on both ends of the street to get you there. But that's just kind of what we're talking about, and unfortunately, government, it moves slow. You've got to go through some of these processes, and we'll continue to do that, but that's the progress of it, is you get that continuity of your community, and you get the safety of the community. But we've had 7 different crosswalks proposed to us, so it's not like this is the only one. We understand the importance of it, but we've got to look at what everybody's saying to us, and then look at the viability of it. The more you have, the less they're following. So,
Well, it's important too that we make sure we don't just plop a crosswalk down and it creates unintended consequences of people crossing other streets to get to that crosswalk, so.
yeah.
The other thing too is you can't just put paint down for a crosswalk. You gotta deal with ped ramps.
Yep.
ADA, you have to have ADA compliance with that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too, is there's studies out there right now that tell you that crosswalks actually increase conflict, because people have a false sense of security in a crosswalk, thinking people are gonna recognize them and stop. So there's people on both sides of the street here. Obviously, with what we're doing, we're trying to promote pedestrian, bike, traffic safety throughout, and we're trying to nibble off everything we can as we can, so. But just as an update there, that you'll see those improvements with this year's street improvement projects, and that's a big corridor across. You know, there's a lot of traffic that moves swiftly on Casal 23, so.
When I appreciate the thoughtful approach and the research base that staff follows in doing it, because we're gonna do it where it is safe, and like you said, doesn't give that false sense, so, thank you. Alright, anybody have anything else?
Nope.
Look for a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion by Mike, second by Robin. All in favor of adjourning, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. Meeting's adjourned at 5:48.
Close, oof.
3 minutes over.
Well, you almost made it.
Watch the speed going out
Self-
of Princeton.
Self-inflicted, self-inflicted.
Red light on top of the truck.
You didn't ask for it?
Right? Attorney asked the president,
On the top.
he wouldn't do it.
Oh, jeez.
So,